everyone. We are live. We are finally getting the first round underway in Budapest, Hungary. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of our games. We had a little bit of a delay, but it looked like it was just a minor one, and we've already got pieces on the board. It's official now, Robert. I feel like if there are any players that were maybe super nervous, now's the time to shake off the cobwebs. That's it. First moves on the board. You can relax now, or at least start to find your zone, start to get the flow going.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one kind of relaxation now that the jitters of anticipation are gone, but it's a different kind of stress because now you have to find good moves on each and every turn. And we see Peter Leko, the legend, on the screen in front of us. We see the playing hall. So many players have flocked to Budapest, Hungary. They are now seated. They are now playing their games. So, John, we see the 4 boards from the open section of Hungary in their opening match. And, well, you're not going to have an easy match just because they outrate their opponents by quite a bit.
Yes, they do. You see Leko versus Carlsen, of course, on your screens there. This is not Carlsen of the Magnus variety, but nonetheless a difficult opponent regardless. So all 4 boards have now begun. Who gets white and who gets black on each board? Is it just like a coin toss or like drawing lots for colors in the opening round?
I believe that is the case, and just to remind everybody that there are 4 boards playing, but if a team gets the white pieces, it doesn't mean all 4 of their players get white. It means that they have white on boards 1 and 3 on the odd boards, and then black on 2 and 4. So you have 2 and 2 in terms of color distinction, so don't be fooled. Not a single country will get all of the same color in a given round.
So it's effectively white on odds, so similar to other team competitions. And of course, the match result is determined by all 4 games. So if 2 players win, for example, for each team, or it's entirely possible you get 4 draws, for example, the match is then tied 2-2, where just half a point either way will give you the match points in favor of yourself or your opponent. So sometimes this can teeter on the knife edge, and one of these fun scenarios, I say fun because I'm not playing in them, is where you have 3 boards, they've all ended in draws, and you're the last board playing, and you know that the result of the entire match depends on the situation on your board. And if it's something like, if it's like opposite colored bishops or something and you know it's going to be a draw, you're pretty chill about it, but you got major pieces on the board or it's super sharp, I can't imagine what the nerves must be like in that sort of scenario.
You mean the weight of an entire match, an entire country's fate on your shoulders? No pressure at all, nothing to see there. But John, we do have moves on the board, and it's early going in this one. Peter Leko, the legend, has the black pieces, and he is taking on an experienced player here. So again, the rating differential does not tell the whole story, and we see, at least from these opening moves, John, that now black has castled and white has returned that decision, and we see kings on the same side of the board, which means we're not likely to get an attacking game. This is going to be more of maneuvering and positional chess.
Yeah, and when you're, I guess Peter will be relatively happy to see this as well. If you are the higher rated player, or even taking ratings aside, if you're the more experienced player, you have the patience, you have the knowledge from playing so many games in your back pocket. You're not about to see something super drastic that might come as a bit of a shock. You're happy to play some nice, solid positional chess and get yourself into a position where you can slowly squeeze your opponent into being into an uncomfortable place, essentially. So it looks like Peter's very happy with that, as is Jorge, of course. I don't 100% know whether this is necessarily going to be the case throughout the entire tournament. Is there maybe a situation where you
g4, so a move like queen g5 and other ideas like that may threaten to trap that knight, not to mention the d file is open. So, John, the most important piece on this board is this little teeny a pawn that is restricting white's pieces, and I want to prevent your idea of knight d3. I want to cement that pawn in place and then free up the remaining black pieces to start doing the rest of the damage.
And when you do that, it's almost like there are no good ideas left for white, because you're right, knight d3 is the big idea, and if you ask me, if knight d3 wasn't possible, what would you be doing instead? I kind of don't know. The number of squares is really starting to dwindle. At one point, white might even be forced to save the knight to have to play something like knight g5. And objectively, if I'm going, okay, well, at least there's a safe square in e3 after knight g5. And then you can protect your pawn on the c file and everything looks hunky-dory. Your bishop is stuck behind that black pawn that you can't shift. That pawn on a4 is still a thorn in your side and you can't take it. Black might be able to just swivel the rook over to the d file or the b file or reposition the bishop, and it feels like white's slowly being suffocated and there's a lack of options. It's not necessarily that they're going to lose the game in the next 5 or 6 moves. It's more if you're sat at the board with that kind of position, you're slowly getting to a point where you're thinking, well, what can I do now? Like, all the good options are disappearing.
I think you summed it up perfectly. That it's not about losing in a few turns, it's just that black will first keep that pawn defended and then bring in the reinforcement. So as you go to the game position here, I like knight f e4. It's not the only move, by no means is that absolutely required, but with knight d3 coming, I do feel like knight f d4 is a great move. Also, bring a rook down c file can never hurt because there's a queen at the end of the line. We keep talking about rooks win those showdowns, so both moves to my eyes look very good. It is a clear advantage for Peter Leko, and now he needs to prove it. Down to 20 minutes, and he has what, 21 moves to make, 22 moves it looks like, so Peter doesn't have all that much time. That 30-second additional time added after every move made will come in handy.
So we have now taken a look at Peter Leko, who's just made a move in that game. We're going to take a look at a different game now, but it's actually a game you've already mentioned, Robert. We just haven't necessarily looked at that much detail, and it's because we've spotted that game